The auction block. The alien market was loud and full of smoke. Bright lights flashed above, showing cages filled with all kinds of creatures. Shouts echoed in every direction. Traders, buyers, and guards moved through the place like waves in a storm. In the center of it all stood a thin alien woman. Her skin was pale blue, almost silver, and her eyes were tired, too tired for someone so young. Her arms wrapped tightly around a small child, no older than 5. The child was even thinner, shaking from hunger. The slaver shouted, "Now step forward, Lot 92, you and the little one." But the woman didn't move. Instead, she knelt down and whispered something in her child's ear. Then she slowly stood up, placed the child gently behind her, and stepped forward alone. "She comes without the child," the slaver laughed cruelly. "One body only. Good for work, or other uses." The crowd laughed. The woman looked down at the floor, ashamed, silent. Rich alien in a green robe stepped forward and raised a hand. 50 credits. 50! The slaver yelled. "Do I hear 60? Another voice came from the shadows. Calm, deep, human. 100. Everyone turned. A man walked slowly into the light. Tall, broad shoulders, wearing a long coat, and dust-covered boots. A human, alone. The crowd went quiet. Humans didn't often come to alien slave markets, and when they did, it never ended peacefully. The slaver blinked. 100? You sure, stranger?" The human nodded once. "Yes." The rich alien growled. 150. The human didn't look at him. He just said, 300. Gasps. The crowd stepped back. The slaver grinned and slammed the gavel. "Sold! To the human." The woman's eyes rose slowly to meet his. She looked confused, scared, and shocked. Her lips trembled. "Why?" she whispered in her own tongue. The human walked closer but didn't touch her. He knelt down instead, looking at the child still hiding behind a broken crate. "You must be cold," he said softly. "Both of you." He pulled out a wrapped bundle of food and placed it on the ground. "Eat. You're safe now." The mother hesitated. Her whole body shook. But when her child reached out for the food, she let him. Her hands didn't stop trembling. "I don't understand," she said quietly, this time in rough, broken English. "You don't need to," the human said. "Just follow me." The slaver stepped forward, annoyed. "You're taking both? You only bought the female." The human's eyes turned sharp, cold. "You want to fight me over a starving child?" The slaver backed off quickly. No, of course not, human. Take your property." But the human didn't move like someone who thought of her as property. He moved like a protector. He pulled off his coat and gently wrapped it around her shoulders. "Let's go," he said. "It's over." The mother held her child close. She had no idea who this man was. She didn't trust him. How could she? But something about the way he looked at her, like she was a person, not a thing, made her legs move. She followed him out of the auction grounds. Aliens stared. Some laughed, some whispered. A human taking in an alien slave and her runt? What a fool. But the human didn't care. He led them to a small shuttle hidden between metal crates and old engines. It looked patched together but strong. When they climbed inside, warm air blew from the vents. It smelled like old leather and spice. The child fell asleep in seconds, curled up in a seat. The mother sat stiffly, not taking her eyes off the man. "Why did you do it?" she finally asked. The man glanced at her. His face was tired, but his voice was calm. "Because I saw someone who needed help, and I had the means to help her." "That's not normal," she whispered. "Not on this planet, not for us." "I'm not from this planet," he replied. "And you're not property. Not to me." She lowered her head, tears building in her eyes. But she didn't cry. Not yet. Her heart didn't know if it was allowed. "Rest," the human said, standing up. "You'll need your strength. The road ahead isn't safe." She nodded, still quiet. but for the first time in years, she felt something she had long forgotten. Hope, the quiet room. The shuttle landed far away from the loud and cruel markets. There were no slavers here, no cages, no buyers shouting prices, only wind, stars, and a quiet hill outside a small cabin. The human stepped out first. He looked around carefully, his hand resting on a tool at his belt, not a weapon, but strong, enough to be one. The night was cold and the sky above was deep purple. He turned and helped the alien mother step down. She carried her sleeping child close to her chest. "Where are we?" she asked in a soft voice. "Safe," he said. "At least for now." The mother didn't trust it yet. She followed him slowly as he walked toward the cabin. Her feet were weak, her arms hurt from carrying her child for so long. But something in the way the man moved made her keep walking. The door opened with a quiet hiss. Warm light spilled out. Inside, everything was simple. A wooden table, 2 chairs, a bed. A heating unit in the corner hummed softly. A folded blanket sat on the bed untouched. The air smelled like dry tea leaves and fresh metal. The human pointed. "That's for you and your son. Food is in the drawer." She looked at the bed, then back at him. "You want something first?" He frowned. "What do you mean?" "You bought me," she said, eyes lowering. "What do you want me to do now?" The human blinked, then sighed. He shook his head and pointed to a corner. "I'll sleep over there. I didn't bring you here for that." The mother didn't speak. She gently placed her son on the bed and covered him with the blanket. The child curled up and sighed in his sleep. His tiny chest rose and fell with peace. It had been years since she saw her child sleep that calmly. The human brought over 2 bowls and filled them with warm broth. The smell made her stomach twist in pain and hunger. He pushed 1 bowl across the table. "Eat." She sat down slowly and tasted the soup. It wasn't fancy, but it was hot. Real. It filled her mouth with warmth and her heart with confusion. Why was this human so kind? "You haven't told me your name," he said. She looked up. "Mira." He nodded. "I'm Cole." Silence. Only the sound of the heater and spoons tapping the bowls. After a while, she asked, "Why are you really doing this?" Cole leaned back in the chair. "I've seen too much suffering, too many people treating others like trash. When I saw you, standing there, offering yourself to save your child, I couldn't walk away. No one's ever helped me for nothing," she whispered. "Then maybe it's time that changed." She looked at him for a long moment. Her face was still tight with fear, her body still tense, but her eyes had a small light now. Something was waking inside her. That night, Cole sat in the corner, eyes half closed. Mira held her child and stared at the ceiling. She didn't sleep. Near midnight, she heard him whisper. His voice was low, soft, like he thought no one could hear. But Mira's ears were sharp. "She's more than a mother," Cole said into a small communicator. "She's got fire, and she's been through hell. I think she's stronger than she knows." The communicator gave a static sound. Then a voice answered. "Are you sure you can handle this, Cole?" "She's not a mission," he replied. "She's someone worth saving." Mira's eyes went wide. She turned her face away, her heart racing. She didn't understand this human. Not yet. But now she wanted to. Old scars, new questions. The next morning, soft light poured through the cabin windows. Cole was already outside, chopping wood in the cold air. His coat was off, and steam rose from his back as he worked. He moved with calm strength, like a man who'd done this 1,000 times before. Inside, Mira sat by the heater, watching her child eat warm fruit from a bowl. His face was brighter. His small fingers no longer trembled. She should have felt safe. But safety was something she didn't understand anymore. Her hands still shook. Her heart still waited for something to go wrong. She rose quietly, pulled a thin cloak over her shoulders, and stepped outside. Cole looked over his shoulder. "Didn't mean to wake you." "You didn't." she said softly. I couldn't sleep. He nodded. Bad dreams? She stared at the woods behind the cabin. Her voice dropped. Not dreams, just memories. He stopped chopping. Want to walk a bit? She hesitated, then gave a slow nod. They walked through tall trees in silence. Fallen leaves crunched under their feet. Birds flew overhead, chirping softly. It felt peaceful, but her mind was not at peace. Finally, she spoke. There was a war, years ago. My people were pushed off our lands. We were told we were less useful, less intelligent, less important. Cole didn't say anything, he listened. We ran for a long time. My husband was caught. I never saw him again. I was pregnant when I reached the outer colony. No one helped me. They told me to sell the baby or myself. She stopped walking. Her eyes were wet, but she didn't cry. So I sold myself, she said, voice hard. Piece by piece. I cleaned alien homes. I begged. I slept outside. I did anything to keep him alive. Cole stood still, his jaw tight. And then the slavers came, she finished. Promised food. Instead, they put a chain on my neck. She looked at him now. Do you still think I'm worth saving? Cole didn't answer right away. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out something small. A chip. He held it out. To her, she stared at it. What is that? Your freedom papers. And your sons. Fully registered. You're legal now. Citizens of this territory. Her lips parted in shock. But how? I used my Earth credentials. I have clearance from the Human-Alien Alliance Council, he said. It took me one night. Mira stared at the chip in her palm. She hadn't held something that valuable in years, not because of its price, but because of what it meant. She could finally stop running, but that scared her more than anything. Why are you doing this? She whispered. You don't even know me. Cole looked at her, his voice firm. I know what I saw. You offered your life for your child. You didn't ask for pity. You didn't beg. You stood with dignity, even in chains. He looked down for a moment, his voice quieter. I've seen soldiers fall apart over less. She breathed slowly, like the air itself felt heavier. He added, You're not broken, Mira. You're just tired. And you deserve a chance to rest. She stepped back, confused, afraid. No one does this without expecting something later. Cole's face changed, not angry, just sad. I'm not them, he said. Then he turned and walked back toward the cabin, leaving her standing among the trees, holding the chip and holding her breath. She stood there for a long time, not knowing what to believe. That night, after her son fell asleep, Mira stood at the window, looking out at the stars. Her fingers touched the ID chip again. Outside, Cole was repairing a damaged solar panel. He worked under the moonlight like it was just another quiet job. She watched him for a long while, then, without thinking, opened the door. He turned, surprised. Need something? She shook her head. I just wanted to say thank you, she said quietly, for not treating me like a thing. Cole smiled. You're welcome. She paused, then added, maybe tomorrow. I can help with repairs? He nodded. I'd like that. And just like that, something began to change. Not fast, not loud, but real. Shadows of her past. It had been 4 quiet days. For Mira, quiet was strange. She wasn't used to it. Each morning she woke up in a warm bed beside her child. She helped Cole clean tools, cook meals, and sort small supplies. Her hands were still thin and tired, but they were steady now. Her son, whose name she had never spoken in the slave market, was laughing again. His name was Luno. He followed Cole around the cabin, asking questions in a mix of alien and rough English. Cole answered every time with a patient smile. Still, Mira didn't relax, because the past always had a way of finding you, and one night, it did. It began with a smell: burnt oil, rotten metal, the stench of old engines. Mira woke with a jolt. She sat up straight in bed. Her heart was already racing. Outside, lights flashed through the trees, blue, green, red, silent but sharp. A hoverbike engine purred low like a hunting beast waiting to strike. She rushed to the window. There, parked by the tree line, was a dark alien bike. Sitting on it was a creature she hadn't seen in years. Broad, sharp-spined, gold tattoos across his face. Her blood turned cold. His name was Varkle, a slaver. One of the worst. He had hunted her once before, and now he had found her again. She grabbed her child and wrapped him in a blanket. "Don't move," she whispered, heart pounding. "Don't make a sound." She stepped outside. Cold. Wind bit at her skin, but she didn't care. Varkle grinned as she approached. His teeth were sharp, his eyes cruel. "Well, well," he said. "Thought you could vanish? A slave doesn't just disappear." "I'm not a slave," she said. He chuckled. "You think one human changes that?" She didn't answer. He climbed off the bike slowly, circling her like a predator. "Come quietly, Mira," he said. "I'll even take the brat. Sell him to the mines. Quick money. Fair deal." She didn't flinch. But then, before she could speak, a door slammed behind her. Cole stepped out of the cabin. He didn't say a word at first, just walked over and stood beside her. Varkle laughed when he saw him. "Oh, this is Rich, the human who plays hero. You don't know what you've bought, do you?" "I didn't buy anyone," Cole said calmly. Varkle snarled. "She's registered under your name. That chip means nothing. I've got records from before that." Mira felt her knees weaken, but Cole just stepped forward. "You've got two options," he said. "Leave now, and forget you saw this place." He paused. His voice dropped. "Or I drag your body back to the slavers, and let them see what happens when they touch someone under my protection." Varkle blinked, then he growled and reached for his weapon. But Mira was faster. Before Cole could even draw his sidearm, she had slammed Varkle in the throat with a sharp elbow. The alien gasped and stumbled. "I'm not yours," she shouted. "I will never be again." Varkle crashed to the ground, coughing, stunned. Cole stood frozen for a second, impressed. Varkle crawled back to his bike and spit black fluid. "This isn't over," he hissed. "You've made enemies now, human." Cole walked forward and kicked the hoverbike's front with such force that sparks flew. "Tell your friends," he said coldly. "Tell them she's under human protection. Tell them we don't play games." Varkle took off fast, lights disappearing into the trees. Mira dropped to her knees, shaking. Cole knelt beside her, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. "You okay?" "No," she whispered, "but I will be." That night she didn't sleep. She sat by the window, holding a metal rod in her lap. Her hands were ready. Her eyes were sharp. Cole didn't tell her to rest. He just brought her tea and sat across the room, awake too. For the first time they shared silence not born of fear, but of understanding. The past had come knocking, but she hadn't run. She had stood tall. And for the first time she didn't feel like a victim. She felt like someone who had survived. The fire and the fight 3 nights passed after Varkle's visit. Mira didn't sleep much. Every rustle outside made her grab a weapon. Cole added more motion sensors around the cabin. He gave Mira a stun rod. She didn't just take it, she trained with it. Every morning she moved with sharp, angry focus. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was preparing. Cole said nothing about it. But every time he looked at her, something new showed in his eyes. Respect. The attack came at sunset. It started with a low hum in the sky. The birds went silent. The trees stopped moving. Then, blinding flashes. 3 bikes tore through the forest edge, engines roaring. Their riders wore old battle armor, patched, scarred, and stained with blood. Slavers Varkle had returned, and he hadn't come alone. Mira was the first to react. She grabbed her child, hid him under the floor panel in the cabin, and locked it shut. Cole stood in the doorway, calm but ready. He strapped a small shield generator to his chest and held a rifle, not military grade, but heavy and fast. He looked at Mira. "Stay inside." She didn't listen. She picked up her stun rod and stepped beside him. "You really think I'm hiding after everything?" she said. Cole gave her a quick smile. "Didn't think so." The slavers opened fire. Sparks flew as plasma shots hit the cabin's wall. Smoke rose. Cole fired back, dropping one of them with a clean shot to the chest. Mira charged the second rider with a scream. Her rod hit his leg. The alien crashed to the ground, weapon spinning from his grip. She kicked it away and slammed the rod into his helmet until he stopped moving. "Get back!" Cole shouted. Too late. Varkle, hiding in the shadows, launched a shock grenade at the house. It exploded. The wooden cabin caught fire instantly. Orange flames rose into the darkening sky. Inside, Luno screamed from beneath the floor. Mira turned toward the cabin, but Varkle tackled her to the ground. "You think you've won?" he spat. "I'll drag you by your hair back to the pits." She fought wildly, biting, kicking. "You won't touch him, you won't touch my son," but Varkle was strong. His armored hand closed around her throat. Then, crack. A hard sound. Metal against skull. Varkle dropped, groaning. Cole stood over him, his rifle broken in half. He had used it like a club. Mira gasped for air, eyes wide. "Get your son." Cole yelled, "I'll handle the rest." She ran into the burning cabin. Smoke choked her lungs. Flames licked the walls. She crawled to the panel, burning her fingers as she pried it open. Luno was crying. "Mama, Mama!" She pulled him out and held him tight, wrapping his face in her cloak. The ceiling began to collapse. She kicked open the back wall with a burst of strength she didn't know she had, and fell into the cold dirt outside. Cole ran to them and threw a wet blanket over the child. The fire rose higher. Behind them, the final slaver tried to escape. Cole raised the broken rifle again, ready to chase him, but Mira stepped forward, eyes blazing. She lifted the stun rod and threw it like a spear. It struck the rider in the back. He collapsed, face first in the dirt. Cole turned to her, stunned. "You ever fight in the wars?" he asked. "No," Mira said, breathing hard. "But I had to learn how to survive." The fire died down by morning. The cabin was gone. Only smoke and ash remained. But the slavers were gone too, some unconscious, some tied up, one dead. Cole set up a distress signal. A human patrol answered within hours. They took the prisoners and offered Mira and her son a ride to safety. She looked at the scorched ground where her bed had been, then looked at Cole. He nodded. "There's a human colony not far. We can build something better there. Safer." She didn't speak for a moment. Then she whispered, "You stayed. I told you I would." Luno reached up and took Cole's hand. "I don't want to leave him behind," the boy said. "You won't," Cole said gently. Mira smiled. It was small, but it was real. Healing begins. The human colony was quiet, surrounded by forest and mountains. It was nothing like the noisy planets Mira had known. There were no slave traders, no guns in the streets, just small homes, clean water, and people who nodded as they passed. But peace felt strange. For someone like Mira, silence could feel like a trap. She had lived in noise, in hunger, in fear. Now she woke up to birds and warm blankets. Her son played in open grass with other children. He laughed. He ran. He had a bed with soft pillows and a shelf of toys. And Mira didn't know what to do with her hands anymore. She sat on the front porch of their small new house. The home had been built in just 2 days by Cole's team. He didn't say much about it, just handed her the key and said, "It's yours." Mira looked down at her palms. No cuts, no chains, just clean skin. Cole walked up carrying a bag of supplies. He placed it gently at her feet. "New boots," he said. "Some medicine. And a book for Luno. She nodded, still quiet. He turned to go. Wait, she said. He stopped. You gave us everything, she said softly. A home, food, safety, but I don't understand what you want from me. Cole frowned gently. I don't want anything. That's not how the galaxy works, she whispered. He came closer and sat on the steps beside her. You're right. That's not how most people are, he said. But maybe that's the problem. She looked at him. You're not like other humans. He smiled a little. I used to be a soldier. I saw too much. Then I saw you, standing alone at the market, protecting your child. You didn't beg. You didn't cry. You fought with your soul. I think that woke something in me. Pity, she asked. No, he said, shaking his head. Hope. That night, Mira sat by her son's bed as he slept. She traced her fingers through his hair. He's smiling again, Cole said quietly from the doorway. He doesn't wake up screaming anymore, Mira replied. She stood and walked to the kitchen. Cole followed. They sat across from each other at a small table. For a moment, there was only the sound of wind outside. Then she said it. You could have chosen anyone. A stronger woman, a prettier one, someone with no past, no pain. Why? Me? Cole didn't speak for a long time. Then he leaned forward, his voice low. Because I saw a woman who had nothing and still gave everything to save her child. He met her eyes. Because even with scars, you're the strongest person I've ever met. Mira looked away. I'm not strong. I'm just broken and holding on. That's still strength, Cole said. Days passed. Cole took Luno on walks. Mira planted a small garden. Sometimes they all sat together under the stars. No words, just peace. One day Mira brought Cole a folded cloth. He opened it, and inside was the stun rod she used to fight Varkle. I don't need it anymore, she said. I feel safe now. He took it gently, then reached into his pocket and handed her a small carved stone. What's this? She asked. It's from my home. It means new life in my people's language. She turned it in her hand. A soft smile formed on her lips. Then very quietly she asked, if I chose to stay here, with you, would that be okay? Cole smiled back. I'd like nothing more. A new name. A new future spring came early, to the mountain colony. Green spread across the hills. Trees bloomed. Children ran barefoot through the grass. And in the small house at the edge of the forest, something even rarer grew. A family. Mira stood in front of the mirror, holding her son's tiny shirt in her hands. Her fingers traced the clean stitching, the little stars on the sleeves. She had sewn it herself. No blood, no chains. Just peace. Luno sat nearby, playing with wooden toys Cole had carved. The boy laughed when a figure fell over. He looked up at his mother. Is today the day? He asked. Mira nodded. Yes. Outside, Cole was cleaning his boots near the garden. When Mira stepped out of the house, he stood up straight. She wore a soft white tunic now, simple but beautiful. Her hair, once tangled and wild from years of pain, was braided neatly down her back. She looked stronger, softer, whole. You look different, he said. I feel different, she replied. They walked to the town center together. A few curious humans and aliens stood waiting near the stone hall. A council worker held a small data tablet. Citizenship ceremony, Cole whispered. I'm nervous, Mira admitted. He smiled. You fought off slavers. I think you can handle paperwork, she laughed quietly. It was the first time Cole heard that sound from her, and it lit up the air around them. Inside the stone building, Mira stood in front of the council. Her name was called. The woman at the front read aloud, Mira of no known house, former refugee, survivor of the border raids, parent, fighter. Then, she looked up. Do you accept the name Mira Solon? Do you accept citizenship in this human colony, and all rights that come with it? Mira took a breath. Then she nodded. I do. A small cheer went up. Luno clapped the loudest. Then they turned to Cole. He stepped forward. Not part of the council. Not required. Just someone who had stood with her since the beginning. The councilwoman asked gently, And you, Cole Ranger? You've applied for family sponsorship. Do you still wish to take legal guardianship of the child and recognize Mira as your life partner? The room held its breath. Cole didn't blink. I do, he said. Mira looked at him. Her lips trembled. Then, in front of the whole room, she stepped closer and took his hand. No one's ever claimed me with love before, she whispered. Only fear or power. He squeezed her hand. Then let this be the first time someone does it for the right reasons. Later that night, they sat under the stars behind the house. Luno was asleep inside, curled up with a new blanket. Cole poured them each a cup of hot tea. Mira took hers and sipped slowly. Do you ever think about the market? She asked. Sometimes, he admitted. I used to believe I died there, she said. The moment I stepped forward, leaving Luno behind, I thought I would never return. Cole didn't speak. He waited. But now I see something, she continued. That wasn't the end of me. That was the beginning of something I couldn't see yet. She turned to him. You didn't just save me, Cole. You helped me remember I'm still alive. And you didn't just survive, he said. You rebuilt. She smiled, tired but real. Then she leaned her head on his shoulder. And in the quiet of the night, with the wind in the trees and the stars overhead, Mira, once a nameless slave, finally felt something stronger than pain. She felt loved. She felt home.